Javell here. Welcome back to my channel. If you've never seen my channel before, seen my face before, my name is Javell. I make book related content, but I also make lifestyle content, and it's actually really good, so you guys should check it out. But today I have a book video, and it's basically my favorite books that I've read in the year of 2022, because I read 53 books this year, which is crazy because that's the most books I've ever read, like ever, my whole life. And you know, I read some really good ones that I'm obsessed with and I love, and I thought I would share it with you guys. So for the new year, if you're trying to get into reading, these are kind of like some book recommendations. If you're into romance or like a little bit of thriller, a little YA moment, these are really good books that I'm obsessed with and I love, and they were either 5-star or 4-star reads for me. So without further ado, I'm gonna stop rambling. Let's get into the video. I'm gonna start off this video with a Booktok's finest, The People's Champ, which is The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This book was really popular this year for many reasons. Not only is it like really well written, but the storyline, the plot twist. The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo is basically about a new writer who gets requested by a reclusive Hollywood icon to write her memoir. And this is kind of crazy because Monique is an unknown author and she's also like a new writer, so like why is she requested by this iconic Hollywood legend? So basically she's writing the memoir of Evelyn's, and it basically tells Evelyn's life, you know, leading up to fame, and also how she acquired her 7 husbands. But the plot twist, you know, the storyline, the characters is just literally insane. And so I feel like you can tell exactly why this book is as popular as it is. And I feel like when I initially read it, I was kind of like, it's okay. But then as I went on my reading journey and I read other books, I realized like nothing is like this. Like I've never read a book like this. The writing style, the plot, the characters, the plot twist. I didn't cry, but this book is iconic. It's amazing. It's very different. I feel like a lot of books you can kind of tell where it's going. This book I couldn't really tell where it's going. I love the characters. It was just so good. This was I think I rated it like 3 stars, but now that I've read and I've seen what's out there, nothing compares to The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. So this is definitely like a 5-star. Definitely recommend if you're a new reader and you really want to get hooked onto reading. This will literally put you on like the best journey. Then another book is another Booktok icon, which is It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. I know Colleen Hoover is kind of like, I don't know, it's either you like her or you don't, but this book is basically about a couple. This girl, she recently moves to Boston and she is trying to like start a career. She's trying to start her life. She meets this guy and they're instantly like enamored, but then her ex-boyfriend from high school shows up and it basically like throws everything off between her and her current boyfriend. And her current boyfriend just has a lot of like jealousy issues. He has a lot of like issues going on mentally, physically. He just has a lot going on, and it turns their relationship, you know, bad. It gets very abusive. It gets very crazy. This book is a little bit spicy, but honestly, like, it's just crazy. This entire like plot is just crazy. It takes you on a very emotional journey between the characters, and you really root for the main character, but then it also like teaches you so much about just life in general and relationships. So this is It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. Definitely recommend. It's so good. Such an easy read. If you haven't really read but you want to get into reading, I feel like this is also like a really easy read where you won't feel like bogged down by like a slow plot line. Like it's very fast paced, and this book also got me hooked onto reading. Then I also wanted to mention this book because I haven't really heard any. My bed is a little bit messy. We're gonna ignore that. But this book I also wanted to talk about because I haven't really seen much people talk about this book ever, and it is Bully by Penelope Douglas, and I feel like she's such an underrated author. Like her books are so good. If you want books with really strong female leads, but anything by Penelope Douglas will really do it for you. So this book is basically about this girl. She's being bullied by this guy and he starts all these rumors about her. He basically like tries to get her shut out by everyone at their school. She leaves school, she goes to Europe for like a year, she comes back and she's kind of like over dealing with him bullying her, and so she has a backbone now, and so she's ready to fight back. And so she goes back to school and he's just really mean to her. He still tries to like, you know, alienate her, but she kind of grew up. Okay, she grew up over the year, and now everyone's like, oh, Tate got hot. So like no one is really buying him making up those rumors about her, and things are starting to change between them. And you know, like when people say like when a guy's mean to you, that means he likes you. This is kind of like the scenario here. Like he's really mean to her because like he basically wants her for himself, but like he doesn't approach it the right way. And that's basically the plot of the story. This year she comes back from Europe and she's like fighting back with him, and so it's like them doing like a lot of like mean stuff to each other and kind of like pranking each other, but like low-key she's like starting to be attracted to him, but he's starting to be attracted to her. It's a mess, but it's also like a good entertaining toxic mess. I don't support toxic relationships, but like this was just such a good fun read, and I love that Tate grew into like a bad bitch. And so for that reason, this was like a 5-star read for me. It was like my first Penelope Douglas book. I loved it so much. I love her writing. I definitely want to read more of her stuff going into the new year, but definitely recommend Bully by Penelope Douglas. Then I'm gonna mention another Colleen Hoover book, and I swear this video will not be filled with Colleen Hoover books, but she is an icon and her books are such easy reads, so I do read pretty much all of them. But this one in particular is Reminders of Him, and it's basically about this girl who just got out of jail and she's looking to reconnect with her daughter. And her daughter's like 5 years old. She spent the last 5 years in jail, so she's never really like met her daughter or anything. When she gets out of jail, she runs into this guy, Ledger, and he has connections with her daughter, but she doesn't really know that yet. And they kind of have like a little thing going, but like if people found out about her relationship with Ledger, it could literally ruin his relationship with her daughter. And all the main character wants is to get in contact with her daughter, but like she also really likes Ledger. It's like crazy, like the plot is crazy. When you find out why she goes to jail, it will make you sob your eyes out. Such a good book, such a good read. I cried so hard. If you go back and watch my reading wrap up, I think it was either like my June or July reading wrap up, I cried in that video talking about this book because I'm getting goosebumps right now actually. This book is just so good. It's so well written. The emotions behind all of it is just so good. This is definitely hands down one of my favorite books of the year. I don't really care what anyone say about Colleen Hoover. I don't know, like something about how she wrote this book and like the emotional component in it, girl, I had to get myself together. It's such a good book. Definitely recommend. This book made me sob my eyes out. Then another, this is also a Booktok favorite, but it is The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. She writes for the girls in STEM. All her books has girls in STEM. This is a new adult romance, contemporary romance book. It's basically about this girl. What's her name? I don't remember. It's basically about this girl. She is a scientist and she's like a PhD candidate student, and she tells her best friend this weird lie that she's dating someone. And then when her best friend's like, who? She says a PhD like teacher there, whatever. So basically now her best friend thinks she's dating this guy and she has to make it believable. So she goes to him and she tells him like, we have to fake date, and he agrees because he also wants to like, you know, get into some other stuff with the school. So like he agrees to do it with her, and now they're fake dating. He has to like hang out with her all the time, get coffee with her so people see them together, and she like forces, not really forces, but she encourages him to do all this crazy stuff with her. And low-key, deep down, you know, he likes her, but like he doesn't really have the best reputation, so she also has like weird feelings about him. But like that's also like just the plot of the story is such a good like swoon. Like it just gives you all the good feel. And then another favorite for 2022 is Hook, Line, and Sinker by Tessa Bailey, and this is actually book 2. The first book is It Happened One Summer, but these books can be read as standalones because I read this one first, then I went back and I read It Happened One Summer, and this one was my favorite. I know a lot of people loved It Happened One Summer more. I don't know, maybe it's because I read this book first, but I really like this book. But this book is basically about a girl and a guy, and he's like a fisherman and they're kind of best friends, and she's working on a set for like a big TV show, and she's in town because they're filming in his city, and now she's like kind of forced to hang out with him or like stay at his house because she doesn't have a place to stay while they're working there. And she is really into this guy who's on like her production team, and her best friend, the fisherman, is really helping her get, you know, to get his attention. But the problem is that like he likes her and she's kind of like oblivious to all of this, and so while he's giving her like all these tips and tricks to like get the guy on her production team to like her, he also wants her to like him. But he has like a lot of issues. He has like commitment issues, and he's kind of known as like a ladies man who doesn't really like commit to anything. I love the dynamic of this couple. I love like the tropes in this book. It's just so cute. It's so good. It's such a fun read. This is like honestly one of my first Tessa Bailey books, and I loved it so much, and I think this was either like a 4 or 5 star read for me. Just such a good swoon fest. And then I'm gonna skip over to some thrillers. This is a YA thriller murder mystery book, and it is One of Us is Lying by Karen M. McManus, and this was one of the first books I read early in the year, but nothing has ever compared to it since then. But this book is a YA book, and it's basically about this group of kids, and they're not kids, they're like teenagers. They're teenagers and they're in detention. But they're in detention with this guy Simon, and Simon owns like this blog where he kind of like blasts people and he put out their secret, like their deep dark secrets that like they don't want anyone to know. But Simon gets an allergic reaction while he's in detention with 4 other students, and he dies. And so now they're all being investigated to see who poisoned Simon, who caused him to have an allergic reaction to die. And so we all get to see that in this book. This book is so freaking good. I love the characters. I don't know, I like loved how we got like all 4 point of views, but like it's also like really in depth, and also like you just feel very connected to the characters. I remember that was like one of my comments about this book, was that you just felt really like in touch with the characters and like their emotions and what they're feeling at the moment, even if like the other characters don't know, like you as the reader knew. So it kind of just made you feel, I don't know, like something about how she wrote this book was really good. Then another thriller moment that I have on my favorites list is Verity by Colleen Hoover, and this book left me just like in awe. Like not even in awe, I was just shook. I was shocked. I was shooketh. Okay, this book is insane. It is about a struggling author who kind of gets a job to co-write a book with another like really famous author because she can no longer write because she got into a really bad accident. So she goes to her home, she's like looking through her manuscripts, searching through her office trying to find her manuscript, when she finds a autobiography, right? And this autobiography has like all this crazy like deep intimate details about the author that's not well, and she is kind of shook and she doesn't really know what to do with this information that she's received. And also like really weird things keep happening in her home, and she just doesn't really know what to do. She should tell the husband or if she should just keep it to herself. She doesn't really know. This story doesn't even sound shocking, but I promise you, if you read this book, you will feel like you need therapy. It is insane. Like, it's so freaking good. When I tell you guys, I was like, I couldn't do anything after reading this book, after I finished this book. If you've read Verity, please let me know if you're team manuscript or team letter, because that's the real tea here. Such a good read, honestly, you guys. If you want a little thriller moment, at first I was kind of scared reading this book because I thought it was about ghosts, but it's not. Then another favorites, I'm so sorry, is a Colleen Hoover book, and it's All Your Perfects by Colleen Hoover. So cute, so good. It's basically about this couple who's really struggling. They're having a lot of marital problems. However, one of like the biggest challenges they have is that they suffer from infertility, and I feel like this is not like the typical Colleen Hoover book. I don't know, for some reason like it just really like got into my soul, because I feel like for me, one of my biggest fears is to not be able to have children, because that is something I eventually want and I really desire a lot in the future. And so for me, like, this just really, I feel like it was just like preying on my fears. I don't know, but it's basically about this couple who struggle with infertility, and you know, now they're having like a lot of trouble in their relationship and their marriage, and they don't really communicate, and this book just basically takes us on the journey with them. Such a good book. It's like the cover is super cute too, but such a good book. I loved it so much. Like, I don't know, I feel like this is not everyone's cup of tea, but if you do like stuff about like marriage and infidelity and stuff like that, you might like this. Honestly, you guys, most of my books are romance or contemporary romance because I'm a lover girl. I say this in every single video. I love love. All I think about is love. I only watch romance movies or romance comedies, so I don't know what to tell y'all. But next book, I read this early in the year, and it's this Spanish Love Deception by Elena Armas. And oh my gosh, this book is ultimate swoon fest. This book made me swoon so much. It gave me so much butterflies, and if you're really into that, girl, definitely recommend this book. But it's basically about Catalina, this girl. She works at a office with this guy, and they don't really like each other. They have workplace beef. They're always like fighting. They kind of hate each other. But she told her family in Spain that she has a boyfriend, and her sister's getting married, so now she needs a wedding date, which he offers to, which is kind of weird because you're like, you don't like her, like what are we doing here? Which you already know. If you know, if he doesn't really like you, or if you don't like him, there's like inner feelings there. So he offers to go with her. They make like a little deal to fake date. They go to Spain together, and you know, the chemistry is just untouchable. Like they really are getting along well, let's just say that. And that's basically the plot of this book. But it's really spicy, it's really fun, it's so cute, it's like such a swoon fest. This book gave me so much butterflies, and I feel like a lot of times I can't really get butterflies from books unless it's like really well written. My only complaint about this book is that it's too long. It's like 400 pages. It's like super dragged out, but it's such a slow burn, and I feel like Elena Armas does a really good job at making slow burn books. Another one of my favorites that I don't have a physical copy for is The Hating Game by Sally Thorne, and oh my gosh, that book is so freaking cute. It kind of has like a similar synopsis to The Spanish Love Deception, where the girl and the guy, they work together but they also hate each other, but low-key, you know, what's the opposite of hate? Love. They low-key love each other, or like they really like each other. They go through like a whole bunch of like office drama and fighting, but then they're both up for a promotion, so now they're kind of competing. But then one day something happened and they accidentally kissed, and now they just don't really know how to deal with it. And that's basically the plot of this book. So cute, it's so good, it's so funny. I feel like that's one of my favorite things about Sally Thorne, is she writes like comedy like really well. Like her books are really funny, which I feel like I don't really find funny books, or like I don't think anyone's funny, so the fact that I think her books are funny is a huge plus for me. Actually, there is another kind of like a YA murder mystery, and it is A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, which I know a lot of people love as well, and I love this book so much. It was such a good read. It is a YA murder mystery, and it's basically about two high school seniors who died 5 years prior, and now there's a new senior, and she's doing kind of like a capstone project, and she's doing an investigation, like a really deep dive on the seniors that died. And she starts getting threats, and a bunch of weird stuff start happening in her life, and she's very curious as to if these seniors that died, like if the person who killed them is out to get her now, or like what really happened here. So that's basically the story. Super good, super fast paced, which I love because again, I'm an internet baby. I cannot pay attention to anything too long, okay? So I love that this was super fast paced. It was really good. I love the characters. A little bit unrealistic, but like, you know, sometimes that's okay. So another one of my favorites was On Honeymooners by Christina Lauren, and it's basically about two in-laws who go on a honeymoon to Hawaii, and it's because like their siblings got really sick at the wedding. But the problem here is that like the in-laws don't really like each other. Like they despise each other and they think each other is very annoying, but they go on a honeymoon together, and now they have to like pretend to be married because they basically received the honeymoon vouchers from their siblings, and now they're pretending to be married. And now, you know, once you're like pretending, feelings are gonna be caught, and that's the synopsis of the story. It's so funny, it's so cute, it's so fun. I can see why The On Honeymooners is also a really popular book. I really liked it. I feel like this video might make it seem like I have a really basic book taste. I don't know. But I did really love The On Honeymooners. It was such a good read. Then another book by Penelope Douglas is actually Punk 57, and this was basically about two pen pals since they were like in 3rd grade. So they're pen pals, but they don't know what each other look like, and they only know each other's names, and they both live in separate cities. However, one of them moved to the best friend's school, and now He knows it's her, but she doesn't know it's him, and he realizes she's nothing like what she seems like in those letters, and he begins to bully her because she is also like mean to everyone around, and so he's trying to teach her a lesson by bullying her, but like she also does really well for standing up for herself, but she's kind of like no match for him. And there's also someone who's going around like spray painting all this like stuff on the school, and I don't know, it's just like a really crazy story. Such a good book, and I definitely recommend. If you like the bully trope, which I don't really know how to feel about the bully trope yet, it's kind of like weird, but like it's also kind of good. I don't know, but also I really like this book, so I'm not gonna recommend anything by Philippa Douglas, but these are 2 good reads by her. Then I'm gonna end this video with 2 books from the Off-Campus series, and it is The Deal by Elle Kennedy and also The Score by Elle Kennedy. The Score was the first one that I read, and I believe this is the first one in the series if I'm not wrong, but it's basically about Allie and Garrett Graham, and they're my favorite couple in the series. But it's basically about Allie just broke up with her boyfriend, and he's kind of stalking her, so she goes to hang out at her best friend's boyfriend's apartment where she meets Garrett. Garrett is kind of like the cocky hockey player that like gets all the girls and like no one can turn him down. And Allie and Garrett is hanging out. They start drinking, one thing leads to another, they hook up, and now Garrett cannot get Allie out of his mind, but she just doesn't really want anything to do with men right now because she just got out of a relationship. So he proposes a friends with benefits plan. We already know how those work. They don't. Someone catches feelings, and that's basically the plot of this book. I love this book so much. I love Garrett Graham. He's one of my favorite book boyfriends. This book is such a good spicy read. If you love college romance, if you love new adult romance, if you love the friends with benefits trope, definitely recommend. Wait, I said the wrong name. It's actually Dean De Laurentiis, but Garrett Graham is actually my favorite book boyfriend. The Deal actually has Hannah Wells and Garrett Graham. Garrett Graham is my favorite book boyfriend, but I also love Dean De Laurentiis. But this one is basically about Hannah Wells. She is, you know, really smart, but she's also really attractive, and she's passing this class that Garrett Graham, you know, he's failing, and he needs to make a passing score if he wants to keep playing hockey. And so he proposes a plan with Hannah to help her get this football player's attention. If he can teach her how to like flirt and be like hot and, you know, outgoing, if she helps tutor him. And while, you know, they're doing like their little exchange, he really starts catching feelings for her. And that's basically the plot of the story. So good. I love these characters. I love Garrett Graham. I love Hannah. I love the 2 guys in this series, Dean De Laurentiis and Garrett Graham. They're my favorite book boyfriends ever. And that's basically the plot of these 2 books. These were either 5 or 4-star reads for me as well. That's basically my favorites for the year. These books made me fall in love with reading again because I stopped reading for a really long time after being in college forever. And I'm glad I started reading again because it really just gave me a new hobby, gave me something to do, and these books kept me out of, you know, hitting reading slumps, or if I was hitting a reading slump, I read one of these books and I got out of it. So I definitely recommend any of these books that I talked about in this video. They're so good, they're so cute, I love them, they're such good stories, and they made me love, or they made me a little bit scared, I don't know. But that's pretty much it for this video, you guys. I love you guys so much. If you haven't subscribed yet, definitely go ahead and subscribe to my channel for more. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Ooh, I'ma pull up shawty to the side. She keep coming at me every day and night. When I left her, my life started feeling right.